Hello, friends. Good afternoon. Uh, Today is 1st July 2023. Today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite essayists, and in fact, he is one of the most popular essayists ever born in the whole world. Though he was born in 1775 in 18th century, his writing career began in 19th century. He belonged to the age of romantic poetry, the romantic age. He was a good friend of so many romantic poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Southey, and also he was a friend of Hazlitt, another essayist of the romantic age. When I say romantic age, it simply means the period of the period from the year you can say 1798 or you say 1800 and to roughly about 1850, because Wordsworth, one of the romantic poets, continued writing for a pretty long time. So usually critics say that it ended in 18 romantic age ended in 1837 with the accession of uh, Queen Victoria on the English throne. But generally speaking, the first half of 19th century is known as the Romantic Age, and that is from 1800 to 1850, and from 1850 to 1900, the second half of 19th century is known as the Victorian Age because Queen Victoria was the ruling monarch. And romantic poetry, was merely a revival of romantic poetry. It was the second romanticism, you can say. The first romantic age in English literature is the age of Shakespeare, that is 16th century, the second half of 16th century, and the first few decades of 17th century. So, Charles Lamb belonged to the age of Wordsworth, the great romantic poets Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Byron, Keats, and Southey. So, age is dominated, or we can say that the first half of 19th century, that is the literature of from 1800 to 1850, is dominated by poetry. So it is uh, predominantly an age of poetry, the Romantic age. But of course, there were very notable prose writers like Charles Lamb was there, Dick Quincy was there, Hazlitt was there, and there were great novel writers like the most notable historical novelist Sir Walter Scott was there, and he was writing furiously. Later on, he wanted to pay huge debts, so he wrote profusely, copiously, and he was forced by circumstances, by his insolvency, to produce so many novels, historical novels. So these Bronte sisters were there, Emily Bronte, uh, and all, and other Bronte sisters. So, but in spite of these prose writers, the Romantic age is dominated by poetry. Now, let us come back to my topic, that is Charles Lamb. Now, Charles Lamb, he lived for 59 years. He was born in 1775 and he died in 1834 at the age of 59. And the circumstances of his personal life were very hard, very harsh, very tragic. He had a very tragic life, but it was his positivity, his mechanism to save himself from despair was to make good friendship, to study more and more, to work in India House as a clerk and writing, creative writing. So he kept himself occupied to save himself from despair. Uh, Many people know that madness was there was a streak of madness in his family, and Charles Lamb himself suffered once for a brief period from madness, and his father was also stricken on and off and on with madness. Once his mother was ill, and his father was suffering from mental problem, and his sister Mary Lamb was uh, uh, doing her duty as a housemaker. She was unmarried, and such was the pressure of uh, taking care of the household and the desperate conditions, and also because the madness was there in her genes. See, in a very violent feat of madness, she took up a pair of scissors, and she killed her own mother. So she was saved from imprisonment by leniency of the law courts because she was mad at that time. So after this incident, life became very harsh for Charles Lamb and his sister Mary Lamb. Now, Charles Lamb, after the frequent bouts of madness that Mary Lamb started sorry, suffering from, after this incident, Charles Lamb, by God's grace, did not suffer from other bouts of madness. So he was cured forever by God's grace, and he did a very impossible thing, a very heroic thing he did, and for this he should be considered a hero. Though he must be he was a man of light build, and he must be hardly weighing 45 or 48 kg. He was a short man of short height, and he was born to a poor father who was a kind of a servant to a judge. Uh, uh, so he was a general servant, doing everything, cooking, cleaning, doing errands. So he was a general servant, his father, to a lawyer or a judge in England. So he was basically a man of London. Charles Lamb used to wander in the streets of London, and he was a bachelor. He remained a bachelor throughout his life. And as I said, he did a Bhishma Pratigya that he would never marry and he would take care of his sister. This is something which is very heroic, and it shows the quality of his mind and his personality. And he devoted his life to the service of his to take care of his sister Mary Lamb. Now Mary Lamb was also very talented. When Charles Lamb wanted to write the story version of Shakespeare's plays, Mary Lamb also contributed I think she took care of the comedy part, and Charles Lamb took care of the tragedy part. I'm not sure, but together this pair of brother and sister, they brought out a very remarkable book in 1807. In 1807 was published Tales from Shakespeare by Charles Lamb and Mary Lamb. And out of the 37 approximately 37 plays of Shakespeare, this brother and sister duo, they contributed, and they made the story, converted the remarkable plays of Shakespeare in story version. I think 14 of them were converted together by this. And till date, even in 21st century, no one, I say no one, has been able to make story versions of Shakespeare's plays as interesting and as deftly told and as dexterously told as these two brother and sister writers. So this is a remarkable work by Charles Lamb and his sister. Now she is present in many of his essays in the guise of a sister. Well, another work that he actually started as a poet, and he was a uh, moderate success. He was a poet of moderate, ability. And he also wrote a tragedy which was not a big success. But he made a name for himself when he started, name for himself as an essayist when he started contributing to different magazines. He wrote essays. And these personal essays, uh, with his own whims, with expressing his own whims, thoughts, and likings. And these with autobiographical element, with great deal of humor and pathos, and with quaint style that he got from his vast reading of 16th and 17th century prose writers and dramatists. So he was very much influenced by the writers of Elizabethan age and post-Elizabethan age. And his prose was very much, yeah, influenced by the prose of 16th and 16th century prose writers. In fact, when he wrote his play, uh, the tragedy, it was very much in the style of the 16th century Elizabethan plays, the Shakespearean age plays. So because he was a very studious man. So I said he had to, save himself from despair and from depression, and and by making friendship with very noble souls, writers, and all that, and by study, and because he managed to ward off despair and depression. So he used to study before going to his office, and he used to study after that, after coming from work. So he was a very studious man, and he was a very lovable personality, and he was a very delightful talker. And of course, he was a very remarkable letter writer also. For about 35 years, he corresponded with great writers and minds of his age, and his letters show him at his charming best, and his style there is also remarkable. So for about 35 years, he conversed in letters with Wordsworth, Coleridge, Hazlitt, and Southey. So his letters are a very remarkable window to his mind and personality also. So as a writer also, he's a very remarkable. Uh, his achievement is very remarkable. Now, the most remarkable work of Charles Lamb is Essays of Elia. Is a collection of essays which was published in a collected form in 1823, and the last Essays of Elia published in 1833, 10 years after this first collection. So besides his poems and plays and letters, his essays are there. And as an essayist, his popularity has not been surpassed so far. So still in almost all the universities and of India, will find that at least two of his essays, Dream Children and The Superannuated Man, these two uh, essays are invariably there in either in BA syllable, past syllabus, or honors syllabus. Origin of Roast Pig, and there are so many others that are taught in Indian universities. Dream Children is a very remarkable essay because here, he shows that he imagines that he has children, two children, and he's talking to them, and he's telling them about his grandmother. And towards the end of the story of the essay, he says that these were imaginary children that he was talking about, and then the pathos comes out that this man who was so loving, so affectionate, because of his, and he could have been a very good family man. This man, could not raise a family just because the circumstances of his life were so tragic. He was poor. He was merely a clerk in the East India Company that was ruling over all over the world. So he was a humble clerk in the London office, India House of East India Company. That was there in India and other countries also doing trade and all. So Charles Lamb is such a remarkable author, and it's because of his own, I mean, limitless labor and industry and his willpower that he managed to make himself such a remarkable writer. Whatever he has said about the Elizabethan playwrights is still, I mean, valued very highly. And a very important service he did is that he rescued so many uh, writers of Shakespeare's age, the dramatists especially, who were subjected to oblivion, who were forgotten. So it is because of Lamb's book, Specimens of English Dramatic Poets who lived about the time of Shakespeare. It was published in 1808, and this small book, contributed a great deal in, I mean, re-establishing the reputation of so many writers of Shakespeare series, the dramatic writers. This book is Specimens of English Dramatic Poets who lived about the time of Shakespeare, published in 1808. So, Charles Lamb was very well read in the dramas of Shakespeare's age, and that's why his critical opinion about this age and the dramatists of this age and the plays of this age is taken very seriously by the students of English literature. At the end of this, small talk with you, I would request all of you, all, especially those students who are studying in schools right from class 5 onwards, or those who are studying in colleges, and those who are in other business, or those who are retired people, those who are not even students. Everybody should read the Tales from Shakespeare by Charles Lamb and Mary Lamb. I myself am a retired professor, but whenever I want to read something interesting, I read this book. This is a small book, and I think Rupa Publications has also issued an Indian version, and it contains all the 14 and story version of Shakespeare's plays. It gives you an idea about the original plays, and of course, they make you very much interested. I must tell you, towards the end of this talk, that Shakespeare's plays have got wonderful, plot. They are very mature. They are very, depth. They are very interesting. They are very gripping. Shakespeare always took his stories from other sources, from Roman history, from English history, from previous plays written centuries back by other dramatists, and he took stories from different sources and joined them in his plays like King Lear or As You Like It, and he made them so. They added them so nicely, joined them so nicely that they look like one whole thing, which was never, taken from different source. So all of you, please read Tales from Shakespeare, this masterpiece by Charles Lamb and Mary Lamb, and please like and subscribe my YouTube videos, and so that I start getting sponsors. And everybody needs financial, prosperity, and I'm a retired person, and I would request all of you, all my viewers, to support me by liking and subscribing and sharing my videos that I make for Facebook and YouTube. First, I introduce my videos on Facebook, which I later on remove from Facebook, but they remain on my YouTube channel, which you can get simply by typing PROF Nripendra Narayan Singh, Prof Nripendra Narayan Singh. If you type on YouTube, you will see my channel. I have got more than 30 videos so far, and all of them are very interesting, based on very different subjects: sports, history, culture, music, song, Indian films, athletics, cricketers, so many fields. They cover so many fields. So they are very interesting. Please like and share my videos. They are one of the best of its kind. I say that I make one of the best videos, some of the best videos on YouTube right now in India. Thank you so much. Please support me. Namaskar.